Oh, awesome sauce.
Get another go.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We screwed up this intro. Welcome in to the recap show for week 5 and 6 of the Phi Mu Alpha LCS. My name's Fleeing Panda, and I got Gerg7, Jirachi, and Menbung with me tonight.
Yo, what up?
How's it going, guys? We're Phi Mu Alpha up in this.
Round 2.
Round 2, yeah. We started well. Jirachi is there. So, alright. First up, we have our recaps of the Week 5 matchups. First off, we have War versus Rich is Provoked. Greg, what did you think happened in those games?
So I think a big part of that game was Ali's playmaking on the mid lane. That Ahri was kind of just a power pick from Violet Sociocat that she can bring out at any time, something that people usually underestimate from her. But I think they kind of just got ahead in both games and just snowballed from there. And, you know, kind of just War playing the game they usually do.
Yes, so, yeah, tears for Rich is Provoked. Rich has many tears right now. Alright, moving on, we had the next match was the Spanish Torpedoes getting 0-2'd by Pooh.
Yeah, that was quite honestly was a very unfortunate game to kind of watch. Bear Jr. and Hiramar. I think Hiramar, I believe he ran Xerath twice that game as well. I could be mistaken, but it was just a really solid win from the side of Pooh and the playmaking of Bear Jr. and then also just having Anivia twice. That's what it was. Thank you. And then having that random guy just provide some consistent DPS in those big team fights for the win.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was that mismatch with Will Brooks and Hiramar in the Torpedo. Unfortunately, was only able to kill Hiramar once out of both games, so I think he ended up with like a 35 KDA, which is just ridiculous. Moving on, we had a 1-1 draw with Hidden Valley Gaming and the Boosted Gorilla Monkeys. 26, yeah. No, thanks for our little stat update right there. So, the 1-1 draw with BGM and HVG. Sean, walk us through that.
Yeah, okay, so this was actually like my hype match of the week. You get Greg versus formerly known as DG Mad Hatter, now Panic at the Disco Hat. I think he changed his name because Greg just destroyed. No, he didn't really destroy him. But this was the mid lane death game. Panic at the Top Hat, whatever, Death Hat, whatever. Rabadon. That would have been better. Panic at the Death Cap. Wow. Okay. So this was the death bet game for the mid laners. In the first game, it seemed like HVG lost draft, and then there you go. DG Mad Hatter at that time pulls out some wacky stuff, but then BGM kind of showed some kinks in the armor, and I think they kind of got a little bit too cheeky on the side of HVG with their drafting. They didn't really have a cohesive draft that game, and then Greg, I believe, was able to stay on Anivia and die once that game on Anivia, but he just once the series. Wasn't it in that game, though? I felt like it was in that. Oh, no, it was in the first game. Yeah, he was deathless because his freaking egg. God, it's so annoying.
The bird is the word.
Yeah, it definitely is. Articuno OP. But it was probably, if you want to go back and watch any series from week 5, I would highly recommend that just because it was such a back and forth series, and it showed like kinks in both teams for them being, which we'll get to later, top tier teams.
All right, and our next match up was Gimme Dad Ace winning 2-0 over Slapnut Magoos.
So, was this the match that Adam played Ezreal? I think it was. Or not Ezreal, excuse me, Aatrox?
No.
Or was it against War?
This is the one. Yeah, that was versus War. I forget what he played.
This was Kayn Ezreal, by the way.
This was Ezreal, yeah.
Yeah, Kayn Ezreal, that's right. Okay, so I don't. That is all right. So this is the one he played Ezreal. That's right. That was a fun game. He kind of just popped off a little bit.
Yeah, popping off a little bit is is easy to say when what was his total KDA that game? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
4, 5, and 10.
But
So yeah. Continue, Greg.
yeah, but I mean, honestly, just making the plays across the map. You know, the rest of his team following up. Adam being the person that started to generate most of the late game plays against SNM, and SNM did not need to sub that match. That was a late night match, but
Yeah.
yep.
It was really nice to see SNM kind of come together as a team for the first time and pull out some strats that they looked pretty good. Again, Frontlash still trying to be the anchor there. But like you said, Adam kind of stepping up and being what his team needs him to be for sure, and making those plays late game to kind of clinch those 2 victories.
All right, so our last match for week 5, which actually got finished last night because of massive scheduling problems, was Big Anime Titties getting 0-2'd by Gerg 5.
Oh, the TDs. Well, for them it was, I mean, General Dill playing, what, Diana, and then, what was the next one? God, it was just last night. Jarvan. And having just some amazing Baron steals that Greg still needs to do mystery gifts for, I believe.
That's right.
Yep,
Today on
called
stream.
out on stream. But Dill, they were staying in. I believe they had a lead in the first game, the second game, but in the first game, it was like this double assassin comp with Sebastian on Malphite trying to kill the backline of like Kog'Maw and Misfortune. Correct? Yeah. And it was just really, really hard to execute. They didn't get an early enough lead. And then G5 in the second game having connection problems with CVAN MacBook, connections. Oh, spoiler alert. I mean, what do you mean? Oh, don't give CVAN Kog'Maw. Nice. But yeah, CVAN gets Kog'Maw both games. Pops off, does AP, Kog'Maw, CVAN things. And they win some late game team fights, even though they threw Baron twice in the series.
Yeah, so anyways, that wraps up week 5. Moving on to week 6, which I think we can safely call the week of the draws. We had War versus GDA, which was a 1-1 draw.
Greg, Panda, one of us. I don't want to talk again.
I think Greg's not there, so War versus GDA.
Wait, no, I am here. I'm sorry. I was talking that whole time. Holy moly! So that was actually a really good match. That was the match Theatrix played Aatrox, and the reason I like that match so much is because I remember Theatrix came in for the MVP interview, and he's like, "I know Violet Sociocat doesn't like games when they're clusterfucks, so I just decided to make these games clusterfucks." And Ali was just like, "Yeah," and that's what the games were. It was just craziness. But yeah, Adam did play Aatrox, and yeah, ended up taking one off of War.
So,
all right.
Secret strat, make it a clusterfuck if you're playing against Ali. Confirmed? You'll at least
Confirmed.
get a draw? Okay.
Alright, so our next game was Big Anime Titties getting a 1-1 draw with Hidden Valley Gaming.
Panda, take it.
I don't remember if I watched this game or not.
I don't think I watched this game either. This was the... Man, we're really good at this. Hey, let's do a recap show and not have watched that game. Which one was this? Week 6.
General Dill played Vi and Jarvan, so
Yeah,
one of the
and
things we've seen is General Dill play Jarvan a lot, so maybe not give him Jarvan so much.
You can give me Jarvan, if y'all don't mind. That'd be totally great. But yeah, just don't give General Dill Jarvan. He steals Barons. He sets up plays for the rest of his team to go on and capitalize off of. And I think maybe, I don't remember what day this was played, but this is another game where, like, I think they won game 2 because HVG won game 1, which seems to be a trend where they win the first game. But if they, because Frank is just really good at game 1s, and it seems like maybe they have a adapting problem or a drafting problem on the other side. But yeah, that's all I got. Okay.
All right, moving on. We had G5 tying 1-1 with the Spanish Torpedoes.
So
Yeah.
I can actually talk about this one.
Perfect.
So I specifically remember these games. Actually, I remember them specifically because I think Rob had a Thresh game where he was just the whole game he would just get caught out trying to make these crazy plays. But sometimes he would land these hooks that would just work out for his team, just out of nowhere. Like he would just flash hook, miss like 90% of the time. But the one time he did it, it worked, and it would make a play for them. But other than that, in the series, it was ended up tying just solely because of C-Van getting caught out a little bit in the one game. If he honestly didn't get caught in a lot of those team fights, they would have won. But because of that, they ended up losing.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next one, which I think was the biggest surprise of the week. It was Pooh versus Slapnut Magoos, ending in a 1-1 draw.
I am unmuting myself just to talk about this one. This is all I'm talking about, because this match was actually insane. Game 1, S&M made some great early game moves, but Bear Jr.'s Bard just took over, like, building the Leandries, soloing Silent Taco twice on the Varus, and we're just sitting there in the caster channel like, why is this a thing? So yeah, game 1, convincing win, and then game 2, S&M banned the Yorick. No, they didn't ban the Yorick. They forced the Yorick ban out because Pooh actually thought that S&M would first pick it, and they left up the Bard. They banned Misfortune away from Random Guy, and then he picked up Vayne. We went on some Vayne spotting, and S&M just learned how to kind of deal with the Hillary Clinton split push, as in you group up as 5 and engage on the rest of the team, and Hillary Clinton wasn't really there to help, and Pooh just kept losing fights. Silent Taco was just going after Bear Jr. with a vengeance. He was like, you solo kill me twice, game 2? Nah. I got this. And
I think that was a good 30-second montage of just seeing Silent Taco like chase down Bear like from his blue buff all the way to the backside of their red buff. And it was like there's some bad blood there. So but he did build a Sightstone in game 2 for Bear Jr.
Oh, yeah,
so maybe
Bear
that's
Jr.
the
did
reason
build
why
a
they
Sightstone
lost.
until like third item
30
game
minutes.
1.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason why they lost. So less vision because you don't need to see them when they're dead. Who knows? Leandry's Bard OP.
This series was insane. I'm going back to muting myself and memeing. Okay, thanks guys.
Well, now we've come to a dilemma.
Yeah, Panda's got to talk.
Yeah.
You have to talk.
Hey now, I got this.
Because Greg and I can't talk about it. So,
Our last week 6 match was between these boosted bonobos, Rip versus boosted Gorilla Monkeys, right? Which boosted Gorilla Monkeys won 2-0. I think the biggest thing I remember out of this match was trying to figure out what the frick's going on with the Jace. Like, why is Jirachi picking a Jace ADC? And then just trying to figure it out from there. They're already down a game at that point. So, again, I just feel like they thought this strat might work. I think they gave up, what was it, a Misfortune?
We allowed Misfortune to go through on the side for Piper. We had a Nocturne mid, a Jarvan jungle, and a Teemo top with the Jace ADC with Leona bot.
Yeah, so I think the reasoning I heard for that after the game, or after the match, was that the Jace was going to be an MF counter. And I'm not sure if that happened or not.
I think you guys heard that. It was an MF counter, like as in count her and how many times she kills us. So like that's a count her, not counter. I know it's wordplay, but it's okay that you misunderstood that.
PMA LCS Season 3 debut of Ivern.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that was true.
Debuted and just trashed all over Sean, right? He didn't steal his red buff.
No, he went to go steal my blue, and then I saw him. So then I took his red buff and killed him for first blood.
We knew it was happening too. He's like, "This is what's gonna happen," and we're like, "Okay."
Like, okay, I'm just a tree, and he's got a big old sword. Like I can't do nothing about it. But I did take most of his jungle. It was fun. I hated the damn tree though, because he can just he's annoying.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I think there was a point in time for about 3 minutes where we saw Fish Baby Bot just kind of walk around in a circle because he had nothing to do. Moving on, though.
God.
We're going to move on to our standings right now. And our current standings have HVG leading the league with 14 points. But close on their tail is Pooh, and they're also tied with 14 points. Any thoughts? Or we're just going to go through all of them?
Just go.
All right, moving on. In third place right now, we have the Boosted Gorilla Monkeys with 13 points. Really close to overtaking both HVG and Pooh, but just not there yet. Piper is boosted, is what Jirachi wants me to say. Also, Greg. Everyone's boosted. All right. Our fourth place team, and pretty solidly in fourth place, is We Are a Rhino with 11 points. Still got a big enough gap between them and the fifth place team that they can feel pretty comfortable, but they still need to pick up a few more points to assure themselves of a playoff spot. Moving on, we have Rich is Provoked at 7 points and a tie for fifth place along with Gimme Dat Ace. Both of those teams are trying to get away from Gerg 5, who is in seventh place with 6 points and only 1 point behind. And Gerg 5, if they win the next couple matches, will be able to leapfrog both Rich is Provoked and Gimme Dat Ace. And the Spanish Torpedoes are in last place with 2 points apiece, and just above them is Big Anime Titties with 3 points. Big Anime Titties need to start picking up a couple points here if they want any shot at making it into the playoffs. And both Slapnut Magoo and the Spanish Torpedoes have picked up some better results recently, so who knows if they will be able to make a final push for playoffs or not.
Yeah, so... What?
Well, I was going to say, which brings us over to our team rankings, but, I mean, we can talk about the standings or go to team rankings. I don't care.
Yeah, I have something to say about it. HVG, Pooh, and BGM, if they all 2-0 one of their last 3 games, they're automatically in the playoffs 100%. They clinch. So War would need to 2-0 and then get 2 more points. So they're almost there as well. But it's that 6th place is going to be, or 5th and 6th are just going to be nuts. It's going to be it's going to be chaos towards the end. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to see a lot of ties, so that's why I think it's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, I think when you if we're just being honest, it's kind of hard for anyone from 5th place or below to probably catch War or BGM, just because they're not. I don't expect any catastrophic breakdowns or nuclear reactors blowing up anytime soon inside their turmoil for their.
You never know. Trump is president.
But neither one of those teams have Hillary Clinton, so All right, so but you could look at RIP, GDA, G5. Those 3 teams are essentially right now battling for 2 spots. Bat has some say. They take some games off, or they have trouble finishing and closing games, even though the general is still trying to steal Barons. I think he just stole another one as we're talking. It's gonna be so interesting to see the landscape and where those teams separate themselves, because I think the the matchups for their strength of schedules. I think GDA. I think actually RIP has to play GDA and BAT, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what. So we're gonna see a lot of these playoff things come head-to-head matchups make the difference here as opposed to just game records.
All right, so I think that's gonna move us along into our team power rankings. So our first match for the team, or not first match, our first up for team power rankings as we see them all magically appear. I don't know. It's magic. But we have Pooh as our number 1 team in the team power rankings, followed by HVG. So they've kind of swapped spots. Then it's BGM moving up a spot, followed by War, G5, Gimme Dat Ace. G5 has made a couple leaps here, moving up to 5th place. After Gimme Dat Ace is Rich is Provoked, who's fallen a couple spots, as well as Big Anime Titties, which has also fallen 2 spots. Slapnut Magoo has moved up off the bottom of the list, I think, courtesy of their draw with Pooh. And then you have the Spanish Torpedoes pulling up the train of this caboose.
Pulling up the train.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just based on wins and losses and stuff like that. It honestly just makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, but you look at like the teams who move the most, which would be G5 and GDA and Rip and Bat, which were the teams we were just talking about. And GDA having a 3-1 record, really helping them jump up. Rip having a 0-4 record, making them put down. Bat going 1-3, and G5 actually going 3-1 as well, helped bolster their standings in the power rankings.
So wait, did Rip play GDA yet? No, you guys played them in the last week.
No, yeah, Rip plays GDA,
Oh, that'll
and
be
we
fun.
play Bat, and then we also play HVG, and then I think that'd be it.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, moving on to our top 10 players of week 5 and 6. This is kind of also in conjunction with our OP5. However, the difference being the top 10 were not just limited to what positions they were in. So these are the top 10 overall players from week 5 through 6. And
Yeah.
if we can magically get them to appear.
Hold on, can we
Voila.
preface this?
Oh, you press this?
Like, this is different than what we've previously done. In previous weeks, we've had it to where we predict the top 20 players of how they're going to perform. This is totally like reactive analysis based off of what happened last week. So we're rewarding people in what they actually accomplish as opposed to speculating on what they will do.
Yep.
All
I think that'll. Sorry to interrupt you, Panda. I think it
No,
just gives a better representation of how we're actually playing up to date, and you get to hear it if you are a boosted Bonobo, like many of us are.
Yeah, and it rewards people who played well last split but didn't somehow make it to the OP5, to where it's not only 5 people being rewarded for how they played last week.
Cool.
All right, so without further ado, our first two up at position 10 and 9 is Bear Jr. and Uramoose.
Yeah, so Bear Jr. definitely had some really good games, especially in last night's series. I think the reason why he's a little bit lower and might surprise some people this week is just because when they lost the game to Slapnut, correct, last night?
Yes.
Just wasn't as clean and as used to what we're seeing from Bear Jr. So still the solid support that he is, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So
Yeah, I think he died at one too many times in 1v1 situations where he tried to take on Silent Taco in that second game, and Silent Taco had a bit of a vendetta for him. So, yeah, I think that's all we need to say about that.
Yeah.
Waiting on our streamer to give us the next couple. Never mind, I can just look. The next couple.
Well, Uramoose got in week 5, I think that was the week he got Miss Fortune twice. And he had the one game where he just did extremely well. I think he went like 13-1, 13-2. But yeah, he just popped off. Really strong performance from him. Obviously, Miss Fortune being a champion he can rely on. And with Adam being the playmaker, he also does some crazy dumb stuff. But usually Uramoose is the one who's like bringing the damage from the back line to bring it back for their team.
All right, so moving on to 7 and 8, we have Alistair Moody at 8 and Hiramar at 7.
yeah, Alistair Moody. I mean, this guy just really stepping up in the terms of support. I mean, obviously we even have him above Bear Jr. this week, making really big plays for his team. Excuse me as my voice gives out as I'm trying to talk. Take it away, Greg.
I mean, he's just a monster support player. He plays a little bit of everything. He's fantastic at making picks. He's good at shot calling, and he's kind of just a really just all around solid player. Like what you're gonna get from him, and he just always shows up.
Yeah. One of the things I think that really stood out for all of us was that statistically, his assists, he had 38 assists in week 5 and then 36 or something. I'm not entirely sure. 35. 35 assists for week number 6. So just back to back, just lots of assists in each game. So moving on to Hiromar. Don't give him the bird.
Yeah.
Don't give him the bird, but don't also give him Xerath. I mean, like, he's like the anti-siege mid lane god right now. Like, he's
Yeah, he
playing
went-
these... What?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he really did super well. He went 9-1-17 on that Xerath, just crushing people. You know, he does a lot of the same things I do on Xerath, where you just, if it's a team fight but they're not low, you just ult and do damage to them, and they don't expect it. And you pick off kills, and that's kind of just the way to play Xerath. And he did really well on that. And then obviously in week 5, getting Anivia both times, you never really want to do that either. And he just popped off that week as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem that some people have with playing Xerath is that, you know, he's a very immobile champion. And then the likes of, like, you and Hiromar and those who play, like, these control mages with long poke and stuff is, like, your positioning has to be really, really key. And I think that's the thing that stands out to me about Hiromar with his Xerath play, is that his positioning, whether it be in lane or in team fights, is very, very good. He's never putting himself really into a bad position, or he's forcing the other team to maybe even overcommit or overdive to try to kill him.
All right, moving on to our 6 and number 5. We have 2 members of War, Fudgy Ditters and Violet Sociocat.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk about them in one go here, if that's okay. So I think Violet Sociocat, while may not be the, you know, standout player that, like, you know, is putting up these crazy stats and stuff like that, is kind of just the overall controller of the team, and that's the person, you know, who kind of takes the wheel. I mean, in week 6, putting up 8 kills, 6 deaths, and 22 assists. So right there, just kind of, you know, always being involved in those kills, being around for the fights. Week 5, even 14, 3, and 11. So, you know, just always being involved in everything. And a big reason for that as well is Fudgy Ditters. Fudgy Ditters is always there whenever Violet Sociocat's calling for team fights. You can tell they really have kind of started to get a synergy together, like they're starting to get on the same page. So with that combination of the 2 damage dealers, it's, you know, kind of makes War a very big threat.
All right, and so moving on, we have our next 2, the 3 and the 4, both junglers. We have Zurok 33 and Fish Baby Bot.
So I'll talk about both of these guys as junglers. Fish Baby Bot is really, we talked about this pre-stream, but he's kind of instrumental in being like the X factor for BGM. When he's having a good week or weeks like he did these past 2 weeks, you see BGM really succeed and look like a top 3 team, which is why we have them there right now. Taking a game off of HVG and then, you know, 2-0ing RIP was, you know, in no small part thanks to his early game play and his stupid Ivern. And then you have Zurok 33, who, unlike Fish Baby Bot, kind of serves a different purpose. He is more of the initiator and catalyst for his team's success, I feel, right now. While Sivan takes, if he's on like a late scaling champion like his Kog'Maw generally, or even when Sivan's on Diana, Zurok gives pressure to the lanes that he knows that he can get ahead. And his Warwick game last night, minus, in my opinion, the Trinity Force, but hey, you know, you're huge and fed, so you can probably just buy anything you want. You got an Ornn that can make that Trinity Force into whatever it's called. Whatever. Like, I think he could have probably, like, 1v9'd the entire game. He could have killed the enemy team by himself and then killed his own teammate and then still probably stolen Baron or something like that. It was insane. He's played really, really well. He's stepped his game up significantly from the beginning of the season.
Though he still can't smite Barons. I can say that. He's on my team.
Oh my god.
Anyways, going on to our number 2 player, we have from Gurg 5, Sivan.
Yeah, Sivan just puts up ridiculous stats. This guy is just, and it's Rich will probably put on stream. Don't bet his Kog'Maw. But seriously, I mean it's a meme, but at this point it's true. Week 5, 25 kills, only 6 deaths, and 26 assists. It's just nuts. I mean, unbelievable numbers. Week 6, 26, 11, and 16. So just really, really, really strong showings from Sivan, and that's why he's up on the list. And 2-0ing BAT really helps their playoff conditions.
Yeah, it definitely does. And then Sivan doesn't play Xerath, but he plays Kog'Maw like a Xerath, essentially. He is and then also I think I don't know if it's just because in solo queue or many people outside of playing against Sivan, you don't know how to deal with the AP Kog'Maw because you never really see it. But I mean, like Rich and Greg just said, ban it or you just gotta find a way to kill it. And I mean, like Big Anime Titties tried to do it. Sivan still was able to take the pressure, kind of dusted off his Voidling shoulder, and then just wreak havoc.
Right, which brings us to our number 1 player for the top 10 players of Week 5 and 6. It's our lovely commissioner, Gerg7. Now,
Talk
for
about
me,
yourself, Greg. No, I'm kidding.
for me, one of the things that's really stood out is that he's averaging over the 2 weeks a KDA of 41.
It's not 42, so he's not the answer. So that's all I need to know. Guy's boosted. I don't even know why he's up here.
Down.
That's obligatory. Trash the commissioner. Boo.
Like seriously, the last 3 weeks he's only died once.
Well, and I'm not saying
week.
this against him, but like if we're gonna say ban Sivan's Kog'Maw, can you get this guy off of Nivea? I mean, like that's why his KDA. Like, I mean, no, like bad blood or anything. But,
He's not wrong.
but like, if you can live twice and then still deal damage afterwards, because nobody can focus you because you got Fish Baby Bot and Alistar Moody just being like, oh, we gotta protect the egg, so get away, and then like he comes back and he's like, all right, I'm reborn, get wrecked. He's really smart. He knows how to play the lane and the map really well. He's been on Comfort Champions these past couple of weeks, but that doesn't really matter because he's played other things throughout the rest of the season. Definitely top 3 mid laner here. Obviously, this week he's our number 1 player of the past 2 weeks. Just solid plays from him all around, setting up his team for plays. Definitely the catalyst and the head honcho over there. He's the boosted Gorilla Monkey.
Alright, stop sucking, Carrick 6. So, moving on to our OP5 for week 5 and 6, we have in top lane Big Dick Jimmy. Talk us through that.
All right, well, I'm waiting for the... Oh, it's right there. I was looking at mid all-star splits. Yeah. Well, back to the boosted Gorilla Monkeys. This guy, he's got the big schlong. No, he's really good. He's steadily improved throughout the course of this entire split, and solo killing people left and right, I think, is actually one of the more unlikely things to happen. Not just in top lane, but just in general. Most of the ways that we see first bloods and kills go over is not 1v1 kills, but somehow Jimmy manages to make that happen quite often, and I don't know if it's just his opponents disrespecting him or him just being like, I gotta unzip my pants and just whip it out, and then there you go. So Jimmy, past 2 weeks, definitely, showing his girth.
Right, well, he whipped it out to the tune of 7-4 and 23 in week 6, so, I guess that's what happens when you disrespect Jimmy. Alright, moving on to the jungle. We have Zurok 33. I think that's who it is. Yep, that's who it is.
Oh, and yeah, for those in chat, why is he the best top laner but not in the top 10 players? He's the best top laner, but there are no top laners in the top 10, so that's why he's probably like 11 or 12 on our list, but that's neither here nor there. Just putting that out there to answer chat's questions. Back to Zurok. We briefly just touched on him right now. So he's definitely, I can't say any more than I've already said about him previously. He's the catalyst for G5. He's the one that gets it all starting. And Yep, there you go.
All right, so he went like, let's see, 14, 5, and 37 in his one match that he played for weeks 5 and 6. So just based off of that one match, he was just head and shoulders kind of above everybody else for the week. Moving on to our mid laner for our OP5, it's your commissioner who has now left us, Girk7.
Well, another boosted Gorilla Monkey on the list. I wasn't sucking his dick. I don't know why this guy's up here. Seriously, ban his Anivia and then find out if he's actually good, and then we can talk about like revoking his permissions as commissioner. That's all I gotta say.
Or Xerath, or Lux, or Oriana, or
No,
basically whatever else he plays.
You know, exactly, whatever else he plays, because we only see him on the Bird and Xerath. Ban it. Go.
All right, moving on to our ADC, we have Uramoose.
Talk about him.
I mean, if you just look at the way his stats were the last couple of weeks, he went, let's see, my stat page is in the wrong spot. Go back to the right spot. That's not what I'm wanting. There we go. Went 9, 4, and 23 with a KDA of 8 for week 6, and then 13, 3, and 12 for a KDA of 8.3. So between the 2 weeks, he's averaging a KDA of 8.13, something like that. I mean, it's just insane what he's doing right now, KDA wise and stats wise, for his team. He's just staying safe, getting those kills, letting Adam die and set things up. But yeah, he just cleans house when it comes down to it.
I agree.
All right, moving on to our last one. It is Zorpox for our support.
Okay, so I'm just gonna... This is so strange. Alright, I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. He's not even on the top 10. And Uramoose is the second rated ADC on our thing. So we're going to get better about that, guys, to make that kind of reflect somewhat, but it doesn't always have to be that way, so just don't think... I think that doesn't show good transparency between us, but you have to understand that when we're voting on OP5 of the week, it's a little bit of a different...
Well, as we said earlier, with the OP5 in the top 10 again was the best 10 players for the time, and then we just felt that Fudgy Ditters, for some reason, was voted higher in the top 10 than Uramoose. But again, Uramoose as part of the top 10, Alistair Moody and Bear Jr. higher than Zorpox. But again, Alistair Moody as well as Zorpox just had massive weeks, and then Bear Jr. being Bear Jr. is always going to be ranked pretty high.
Yeah, let's look at it this way, is that the way that there are 10 people that we're voting on top 10, so Uramoose can be ranked from 1 to 10, and he's probably on some people's list really high and on others really low, so the average makes him go that low. But when people are voting on OP5, week 5 and 6, they choose the one that they obviously had ranked higher, which also doesn't make sense. I'm trying to find a way to save some people's butts, but I'm looking at some of their lists and they just messed up.
Yeah, there's some lists that I just don't understand. But
well, like it doesn't make sense to have people. Yeah, Zorpox overall had some amazing games for War, and he kind of just played out of his mind, carrying Fudgy because Fudgy's really, really boosted. I mean, I don't even know why he's on this list. No, I'm kidding. I just want to say that
the Taric specifically for those games just kind of switches the games around. So, if he gets that ult off and then he gets 2 or 3 of his team members invulnerable, it just flips the team fight. And I think those were huge things for his team.
I mean, I can talk about that personally. Like, the Taric just destroyed what Rip, my team, wanted to do. We wanted the team fight. And then Zorpox would just flip the on switch and be like, hey, that thing that you like to do to where you try to just, fight people and win? Yeah, we're not going to do that. And once all your cooldowns are done, we're going to turn the script on you. And I think that's one of the hardest abilities to use in the game because you have to preemptively do it. You can't react to it unless you have an amazing reaction time because of how long it takes to channel for it to happen.
Yeah, the timing I think was just a huge factor of playing
Yeah.
Taric. One of the reasons why it's a tad bit more difficult than it used to be. So we're gonna move on now to our mid-split All Stars. So these were voted on by the people that are a part of putting the recap show together. We all kind of sat down and thought, who are the guys that are the All Stars? If I had to pick them right now,
Mid-split all-stars, yes.
yes. So without further ado, our top All Stars are Frontlash and Blackestran.
Yeah, now remember, don't look at the top 5 or the OP5 and think, neither one of these guys is on there. Because that's how all of you sound in chat when you baby rage.
There are no top 10 top laners right
Yeah,
now. So
exactly.
I'd point that out.
So, but Frontlash, I mean, you can't say enough about this guy and what he's trying to do on S&M. He's pulling out Kendrick top, and he's making it work. Some RNGesus with the scuttle markings always kind of being near him, and his team working around doing that. And his TP plays, I mean, even playing jungle for a game. And then you got Caleb in the top lane, who's just, I mean, he is a solid rock foundation for war. Something that it's one of the the knights or the rooks for Allie's chess pieces that she has, and he's just been consistent the entire split.
If I may, I'm Greg's gone, so I'm just gonna unmute and talk now.
That's fine.
If kind of generally we have like 3 types of top laners to split, like carries, tanks, and split pushers, and Caleb is a mix of like the carry and split push, and he just does it so well. Like he can be split pushing, but he knows when to group and when to TP in, and he does so much for his team alongside with Fudgy and Violet Sociocat.
All right, moving on to our junglers. We have General Dill and Bunky Knudsen. I think that's Urion.
Aurelion. We're just gonna call him Aurelion.
That's fine, yeah. Yeah, and please change the mid laner's name when it comes up as well. I like the original. But I'm going to talk about my boy, the General, real quick. All right. This guy, he's on a bottom 3 team as of right now in the power rankings, but he plays out of his goddamn mind.
Baron steals for days.
Baron steals, I mean, you name it. Even the odd one calls him the General. Okay? Like this is what I'm talking about right here. Like this is if there is anybody who, in my mind right now, and I'm partial because I'm a jungler, but if there's someone who's the epitome of like, and no offense to the rest of the people on bat, but like consistent play out of General Dill is the single reason why, in my opinion, any game. I mean, he almost won the game for them in the second, or both games for them with these Barons still. So there's that. Go watch the General.
And if I may just talk about Aurelion for a second, he's so well rounded, and he provides a lot of pressure for his team. He's not just getting carried along for the ride by his strong solo lanes. He's played a lot of tanks, but he's also whipped out Kayn, Rengar, Speedy Rammus. Yes, it's a tank, but also Olaf Vi. This guy can play anything. You cannot ban him out, and he's pretty much no matter what he's playing, he's relevant. And that flexibility, he was the All-Star Jungler Season 1, he was up there Season 2, and there's a reason he's on track for this.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. My favorite thing about Elliot is that he seems to always be in the right place at the right time. I'm not necessarily talking about his pathing, but when it comes to ganking or being in an advantageous spot for his team, Elliot's going to be there. And I loved his Olaf game. That was such a wonderful game. God, it was so good.
All right, so moving on to our mid laners, we have Panic at the Top Hat, or our friend DG Mad Hatter.
Thank you, Rich.
And Gerg7.
Well, we've talked enough about Greg and how he's really nice and good, and he plays the egg. No, I'm kidding.
Don't ban us.
Yeah, don't ban us, please, Lord. But Frank, this guy's my duo partner when we're all doing solo stuff, so I love this dude. But he's got a great mind for the game. He really helps put his team in really advantageous situations. Even in drafting, when it seems like he has suboptimal drafts against some games, like even when they played War, and I believe they 2-0'd War, and he had what we thought was like the worst draft giveaways against War, and he turned that into a win somehow. He is the Mad Hatter.
Yeah, and he's another one of those flexible players. I think one of the themes of HVG is just flexibility. Like I talked about that with Aruyan, DG Mad Hatter. Last split he was playing pretty much just like high damage backline mages, and he had the highest DPM in the split because of that. But I know some people were like, "Oh, he's just playing far back." But he's had a bigger variety of picks this season. He's pulled out the Ahri, he's pulled out Lux, which that's kind of a different type of burst mage from Brand, I guess. But and Annie, Morgana, those people who aren't just sitting super far away. He's pulled out quite a number of picks, and
The Vel'Koz.
Vel'Koz has been a staple. You kind of have to ban the Vel'Koz, and he's expanded his pool. His DPM has actually suffered a little bit for it. It's not quite as high this season as it has been last season, but he's still having an impact across the map. He's providing so much pressure mid lane, and that increased flexibility is, why we have him as the mid-split all-star.
One of them, yeah.
All right, moving on to our ADCs.
I
Our
have
ADCs.
so many thoughts about this.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
We have Fudgy Ditters and Piper is, or Piper is Isis.
He's ISIS.
Fudgy, if just being frank, being honest, did not have high expectations coming into this split. I was like, okay, he's new. I leaned against him a couple times, was not impressed. But this kid has just been popping off, and it's ridiculous. And you look at his team, it's like, oh, he's got Caleb and Violet Sociocat there. He's just along for the ride. But he's been one of the main carries of this team, despite having those massive solo lanes. His damage share? His damage share is 33%, which is ridiculous. Vile Sociocat is 26. He puts out so much damage. He does not die that much. He's only had 19 deaths to split across 12 games, and he's been so good. That's really, it's dumbing it down, but at some point that's all I can say. And Piper he was really good last split on the games he played ADC, and he's just been getting even better. I've always thought his laning was actually really good, but his team fights were not quite as good. His team fighting has been getting so much better, and even when he loses lane, he becomes relevant in team fights. I swear this is not a self-plug, but when Rip played BGM, when we played BGM, I was laning against him, Misfortune versus Xayah, poking him out of lane, had to back level 2. He came back, and he had a huge impact in team fights on that Xayah. So, yeah.
All right, moving on to the supports. If Sean doesn't have anything. Do you have anything,
No,
Sean?
Piper's ISIS, that's all.
Yeah, Piper is Isis. Blame Piper for Isis. We have our supports, and there's zero surprise here, I think, with Bear Jr. being one of them, and Allergic to Milk being our other support.
If I may
For
offer,
All-Stars.
this was unanimous. It was 6 of us who filled these things out. Unanimously, I don't think this is in a particular order, but all of us had Bear Jr. and then Allergic to Milk in that order, and just these two have been instrumental to their team's
I
success.
think it's really interesting though, because they're two different types of supports.
Yes,
They actually kind of share similar.
both are gods at
least-
Bard.
Yeah, they're both Bard. So just
Really, I actually feel like they're very similar. As a support player myself,
Really
sorry to
similar,
interrupt
actually,
you,
yeah.
but they both do a really good job of zoning. Especially, again, you mentioned Bard. Bard for Sal, Allergic to Milk, and Bard for Bear Jr. They just try and poke you as much as they can, and then just push you out of the lane so that you're just not effective at farming. So to me, they're pretty similar, but they're just so good at it.
Well, see, here's where I have the difference. Sal is probably not the main shot caller on his team. Bear is. Bear is roaming out around, making plays, communicating with the rest of his team. Sal also can solo kill people, as his, like, the silent taco to Bear Jr. was it Clumsy Chocobo on the Shyvana getting solo killed by Allergic to Milk that one game twice on Bard? I mean, it was insane watching that Bard play when he got MVP for that game. And it's just, he goes around and he's not as proactive as Bear, and also like their champion pools differ a little bit because you're not really necessarily banning Blitzcrank from Allergic to Milk or some of these other
I hate
champions.
Blitzcrank.
Yeah, we all do. But they serve similar type of purposes because of the champs that they play. Sure, Allie. But Bear Jr. is more of the catalyst, where he's making plays to see his other team succeed, like during the early mid game, kind of like a pseudo jungler. Because I mean, when you got Labby on your team, I mean, do you even really have a jungler? He doesn't, a smite.
Jesus.
I'm kidding. But Allergic to Milk is, I think, his presence is more felt within team fights that you can tell for his team, not in comparison to Bear Jr. So there you go.
All right, so if we get our drum roll and mid split, MVP is Bear Jr.
Yep.
So the team is called Bear Jr. Poops in the Woods. Bear Jr. is the team in the name of the team and how they play. No disrespect to the other four, like the entire team has good players. But if you take out Bear Jr., you put in like a gold or even a plat support, this team is not first place at all. He does so much. He makes plays. He runs around on Bard, solo killing, random AD carries, shot calling. He's just incredibly instrumental to his team's success, and its most valuable player. Bear Jr. is not only one of the best players in the league, but he is easily the most valuable to his team.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just what we were talking about. He's setting up plays for the rest of his team. He is the shot caller on his team, and we don't really generally talk about shot calling because it's not something we can quantify. But you can actually see it in his games, just like you can with Ali and their games for War. You can see the movements around the map and how they're made, so that and he's just. I mean, granted, he's probably one of the highest ELO players in the game, but that doesn't
I think
always
he's the
translate.
third highest ELO.
That doesn't always translate
Top
to
three.
being a mid-split MVP, especially in a 5v5 situation. It just so happens to be that this time. And this is mid-split MVP, so a lot can happen on the second half of the split.
And this was also voted on by like the 6 of us in our little panel thing. The regular All-Stars and MVP get voted on by the community at the end of the split.
Yeah.
So yeah, move on to predictions.
All right, so our predictions. We have our upcoming matches for this week. So first off, we have Rich is Provoked versus HVG.
All right, we'll talk about this, but we can't predict it. I think
2-0 for Rip, obviously. No. I'm honestly...
Okay, we're muting Rich. Okay.
You can't. I'm just going to put in Greg's prediction, which is 2-0 for HVG.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree with Greg. Just the strength of HVG at this current time, no offense to you guys, is just, I think, too much. I think there's a mismatch in the mid lane with Bukaki Poro and DG Mad Hatter, and I think that spirals to the rest. Also, if I'm not mistaken, it's Akiyu
versus
Account versus
Dasbite.
DasBite, and DasBite played like a boosted Bonobo.
His current summoner name?
Yeah, juice me, mommy, whatever.
No.
But he played like a boosted Bonobo in the last game out. So if he does that again, I feel like Akiute is just gonna stomp all over him.
I think
it remains to be seen, but that's my opinion. So I'm going with a 2-0 for HVG.
Yeah, I think that both teams have advantages in different lanes. Just generally, I know that Rip is probably going in as the underdog. Rip has probably the better duo lane and the bot lane. The jungle is fairly even, though you might want to give the nod to Elliot from his play thus far, especially him being one of our mid-split all-stars. And then the solo lanes for HVG. So it's kind of like a bend or break of what breaks or bends first. If the solo lanes for Rip can stabilize, then it may be a more even game. If they don't, HVG definitely probably takes a 2-0. If the bottom lane for Rip can rip open the game, HVG might
rip open the hoagie, make it no longer resemble a sandwich.
Don't talk about sandwiches, Rich, please.
Give Sal some milk, right?
Give Sal some milk.
Exactly, because he's allergic to it. I get it. It's funny. Holy crap. But you might see HVG struggle a little bit when they're trying to. I'm thinking of a really, really smart word, but they're trying to band-aid the bot lane if Rich is provoked. Can do that. No, Dill.
Right.
God, it's not a freaking sandwich.
Oh, how do you say that? It is a sandwich, though. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
It is.
It is a sandwich. Let's be real. Like, it's a piece of meat between some bread. Sandwich.
Okay. Let's keep going.
Moving on, we have Slapnut Magoo versus G5, the Gurg 5.
Greg's prediction is 0-2 for G5.
Water. Oh, don't start me on that fudgy. Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna say 1-1. I think S&M. They really showed something. If they can take a game off Pooh, they can take a game off anyone. And it's... I don't think they can 2-0. I think the mismatch mid lane is just too much, simply phenomenal. Cvan is honestly just way too good. Like, he's... Yeah. We've talked about Cvan to death. But if Frontlash can get something going against Dr. Volamundo, or bot lane Family Man and Boy can get something going against Bison Panda, then I think they can take a game off of G5.
Yeah, the Animal Farm bot lane versus, I mean, this one's kind of different than the previous one, to where each solo lane has an advantage on the opposite side that we predict. Frontlash obviously gets the nod in the top lane, but then you have
Cvan gets about
on the other
10
side.
nods in the mid lane.
I mean, however many nods you want, the nods there. It's really going to depend. In my opinion, I think that this is more one in the draft phase. Now, Frontlash can do some pretty amazing stuff with some TP plays and stuff. I just think for them, they need to focus on quality objective taking and not making trades that they shouldn't when they're ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Because trading when you're ahead is definitely not good, and they've done that the past couple of games to where they've probably lost some games that they probably had in the bag, or at least a lead in. And then on the side of G5, if they can learn how to close before 35 minutes, it'll be really beneficial for them.
Oh, yeah, we didn't touch on this,
impossible.
But Frontlash's TPs have been so clean. Like, specifically last night versus Pooh, like game 2, instant a fight breaks out, TP, like the instant. Sometimes he's TPing in before the fight even happens, and it's a common. I mean, good TPs are a combination of good communication and being aware, but his TPs are probably the best in the league. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Wait,
give.
Menbo, what's your prediction?
Yeah, I'm actually still gonna go 0-2 for G5, kind of like Greg, only because I have a little bit more confidence. Now, granted, I don't want to see G5 win because I would love to make playoffs. So S&M, if you're listening, please Frontlash, ban the Kog'Maw, my dude. If you don't think he's the problem, then just draft something to destroy it, because there are people who believe it's not the problem, and there are other things like Zerok, who's gonna 1v9 you. So just keep him in check.
BAT Game 1 drafted the comp to counter Kog'Maw and still lost.
Well, side note, Malphite was not a rock, he was like a pebble. So there. Alright, let's move on to Pooh versus War.
Okay, let's keep going. Pooh versus War. Greg's prediction is 2-0 for War, actually.
This is the match of the week.
Easily.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's the only match I believe that we have between top 4 teams.
Yes.
This is the only top 3-4 team matchup. Pooh versus War is going to be so good. I mean, their styles could not be more different, in my opinion.
Well, they got such great shot calling for both teams, and I think the macro play overall is just going to be so interesting.
Yeah, but see, that's my thing. Is like while they have both really good macro play, Allie has a way that she likes to play, and I would have to say that while both are proactive, they're proactive in different ways. War usually makes moves as a team, where Pooh makes things as like 2 or 3 man units. So skirmishes versus feeling more comfortable in 5v5 team fights for War. The difference in the jungle is going to be huge. Eric's actually going to build a jungle item because I coach him, and then Labby's going to find some machete eventually and then sell it and then realize he's underleveled to Eric.
Tracker's knife game 1.
I mean, I was surprised. I was surprised.
He buys an item every once in a while.
Put him on Ivern, and that champion actually does not need a junk. Like, he can just keep yeah, put him on Ivern, but it's not his playstyle. So I'm just memeing, but still.
Well, actually, if you put him on Ivern, then he could ward, and then Bear Jr. doesn't need to buy a Sightstone.
Hey, I mean, there you go. Sorry, Allie, I just screwed your team up. No, but this is... I'm gonna be... Oh, I hate doing this. God, I hate doing this. I don't want to... No, someone else pick a prediction.
Alright, I'll make a prediction. 1-1. Bold prediction, this is a 1-1 draw.
Bold! Bold!
I say it's 1-1 too. Oh my god. It's just it's so close.
But so, like, look at this. The top lane matchup, you got Caleb versus Hillary, right?
Yeah.
And I think, that's going to take a game. That's going to take at least one game.
So, I would... Now, this may not happen, but wouldn't it be awesome to see the split push fiasco that is Hillary Sayado Clinton versus Caleb's Aatrox?
Oh,
man, that would be hype as hell.
York versus Aatrox. Let it happen, people.
Yeah, or even...
Let it happen.
Nasus versus Aatrox. I mean, and I swear, Rich, if you cast this game and call that a wet noodle fight more than once...
That one's not a wet noodle fight. That one is not a wet noodle
find a new term before that game, and if you cast it, you use it then.
It's a Limp Dick Slapfest.
Find a different term.
Not limp dick, hard dick.
But then you have like two of the top supports, two of the top like ranked supports in our league, especially recently. Zorpox, his Thresh plays, and his Taric will his Taric, if they pick it, be good enough with what Allie wants to do with these 5v5 team fights, or Bear Jr. on these roaming champions, be able to like punish maybe getting wards in Eric's jungle to like find him and give Labby and the rest of the team information that they need to play aggressive around the map.
Yada yada. Stop stalling. Make a goddamn prediction.
God, no. God, I can't do it. I can't do it.
You have 5 seconds.
I usually give it to War, and I usually say 2-0. They let me down last time.
So then don't give him a 2-0.
Pooh 2-0.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, spicy.
Okay.
Alright, moving on to the next one. Yeah, BGM versus GDA.
Greg had typed in beforehand 0-2 to GDA, so that stays.
That's because Greg's boosted.
Someone else.
I honestly think this one's going to be a 2-0 for the boosted Gorilla Monkeys. Mostly because I feel like their bot lane's stronger with Piper Izzes and Alistair Moody. I feel like it's just stronger than Euromoose and clap that A5-5. Yeah, mid lane is stronger.
Jungle
Baja Blast Lover's good, but Jungle, I feel like that goes more towards theatrics and gimme that ace. And then in the top lane,
it's not a huge advantage because Fish Baby Bot has been playing really well, and then top lane.
Big Dick Jimmy.
Oh yeah.
You can't doubt Big Dick Jimmy. So I'm gonna go with 2-0 BGM.
I am as well.
I'm actually gonna do what I hate to do because I think this is actually how it'll end up. It'll be a 1-1.
Oh.
I think Adam will carry a game. I believe that wholeheartedly. And also I think he is a smart enough drafter and guy to punish one, ban the bird. Jesus Christ. Capture Articuno on a Master Ball and don't let her come out. It's just, no.
Or first pick it away.
Yeah, even better. You know, who's the mid laner on
Baja Blast
PDA?
Lover, hold on.
Baja Blast.
Has he
He
played
plays a
Anivia?
Kali.
He has
Yeah.
not played Anivia.
But Baja Blast Lover is an X factor. He can pop off, and also they can run assassins in the mid lane. So if you ban something that's really, really safe against Greg, and maybe put him in a situation where he can't just sit and farm and set up CC for Fish Baby Bot to make some plays, I can see some potential, things happening good for them. And I'm not knocking Jimmy and his massive schlong, but there may be a point to where some of his playstyles and little nuances that he does might get punished as well. I'm expecting Adam to prioritize a level 2 ganking jungler because he preaches it all the time, and I think that even though you expect it, people don't. You expect it, but you don't respect it. There.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this game also has like the quintessential wet noodle fight in the top lane, or Limp Dick Fest with Garfield Juice and Big Dick Jimmy, seeing as they both pretty much play tanks.
If it's Olympic Slapfest, then Jimmy easily wins because his Schlong is so much bigger.
Well, no,
right?
That's only if he's a grower or a shower. If he's a shower, it's no, then he wins. But if he's a grower, then no, it's pretty even. Okay, move on.
I don't know about that.
I don't even know what that means. Okay,
you don't know what
TSC
grower
versus
or shower
Shut
means?
up.
Are you 12?
Shh. I'm 20. Close enough.
Same.
All right, so the Spanish torpedoes versus the big anime titties. This one, I feel like there's an obvious mismatch in the jungle. No offense to Clumsy Chocobo, but I feel like General Dill is a bit better. Greg has it as a 1-1 draw.
I'm giving it a 1-1
I'm
as well.
thinking.
I actually have this as a 1-1 as well, just because I actually think that while General Dill is one of my all-star votes and he's, amazing, I think that he cannot carry both games for them, and that some of their inconsistencies in how to close out games especially from their solo laners might show up if Sebastian is a pebble once more. I think that the Spanish torpedoes can try to find a way to win.
See, I'm actually going to go with a 2-0 win for the big anime titties. I think there's a mismatch in the top lane as well with Debrosius versus Sebastian. Sebastian's not going to be as punished unless Julio camps top. So I think this is heavily dependent on how well Clumsy Chocobo plays and also how the bot lane goes. Because Rob is a very strong player and a very strong support, at least when it comes to playmaking. So if they can survive the bot lane without being too far behind or even get ahead, then they could see them winning, but I just don't see it happening with all the jungle pressure.
I actually want to change my vote. Panda, you're really good at convincing me. Yeah, I want to go 0-2 as well, just because I didn't really even think about the top lane, and it's really indicative upon the junglers doing it. And no offense to Clumsy, but he's trying to maintain his death title. I don't think he lets up.
Yeah.
All right, so I think this is going to conclude it for us tonight. Let us know what you think. I think our next game is going to be Wednesday the 3rd.
We only have one game scheduled right now, and that is Rit vs HVG Wednesday at 11 p.m. EST. But stay tuned for more schedule updates.
Yep, I've been Sean Min Mung Shannon.
And I've been Rich Jirachi / Meme Factory Maddies.
And I'm Fleeing Panda. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow our Facebook page, follow our channel, like the Facebook page, whatever. Donate to us, donate to the prize pools. You can subscribe to us, which would be awesome. Anyways, have a good night, have an awesome new year, and we'll see you next year.